Hey, everybody, it's me, John Ward, and I am here with Donald Wills, and this is another episode of Film Discussion. And today we are talking about, I don't know, Donald, what are we talking about?
Adaptations.
Ah, and why are we talking about that? What you're the one who came up with this idea. Why this idea instead of Star Trek, since we just discussed Star Wars? Why this instead of something like that?
Well, to be honest, I'm not much of a Trekkie, so I know blasphemy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No,
But
only for old Star Trek. Nothing new.
It's not that I don't like Star Trek. It's just, it's just not my thing. So anyway, why I decided to make the discussion about adaptations, because I've always found it interesting that, rather it's a book to film adaptation, or in some cases book to movie adaptation, um or a video game to film. There's always these people that love them or hate them, and it's always a fun discussion. So I figured, hey, why not have it with the two of us?
All right. Okay, yeah, I thought it was a good idea. I thought it was interesting. So and we could pretty much discuss anything, really, right? Books, movies, games,
Yeah.
paintings, whatever has been turned into a movie.
I don't know of any paintings that got a movie adaptation, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
There might be one out there. A Scream might be the closest one to that, with the painting going like that. That's Scream.
That might be a bit of a stretch.
I try. I'm trying. So
You tried.
So what is your opinion? Like, if you have a favorite book and they make it into a film, what are your expectations when you've heard it's being made into a movie? And what are your worries?
Well, I think my biggest issue with a lot of adaptations, and this is not for all of them, but for most of, no, I wouldn't say most of them, but some, we have the problem of people going away from the original source material. And what I mean by that is, The Lord of the Rings, for example. This is a thick boy. This is about 1,000 pages.
Is that all of them?
This is all 3 books put into one.
That is very thick. That's like phone book.
Very thick book. So yeah. I can understand, Peter Jackson not being able to do a word for word adaptation, because that would be like 20-40 hour movie then at that point, and nobody has time to sit through 40, half the time. Who has time to sit through a series anymore half the time? But I mean.
Right.
But when my problem is when you have the source material and then you go completely in another direction, away from the source material, if you know what I'm saying. That is always my biggest worries when I hear, like, especially if it's a book I read or a video game I played. It's always my hope is always to stick to the original source material. I can understand certain things cannot be done, but at least try to be faithful, if you know what I'm saying.
Does it really matter if the book, like Lord of the Rings, it's an old book? I mean, that thing's been out there for a long time, and I know that there's the scholars of, like Tolkien scholars and all that type of stuff. With a book that old, does it matter? Who cares? It's an old book. Stick with new books.
To some people, it matters.
So it doesn't matter if it's an old book or a new book. It should be as close to the book as possible.
Within reason, I believe. I mean, like I said, some things I can understand if they take out. I've never actually read the Lord of the Rings, so I want to, but I just haven't had the time to. The
So
stories we tell
the
us.
book is kind of like a doorstop right now.
So I mean, pretty much. But from what I do understand is that there are certain characters that they had to remove from the Peter Jackson adaptation. Um, and had throughout most of the books they break out into song, which they don't do in the movie. A lot of
Yeah,
people got
yeah.
a lot of
I heard
people
about
got
that.
upset about that, but it's like, okay, you're not going to get a literal page for page adaptation. So I can understand if they speed things up. Um, in a little bit, I'll give an example of something that goes completely south of the source material. Um, but we if you're gonna do an adaptation, I believe at least stick with the story or shorten the story down to a point to where it's watchable, if you know what I'm saying.
So, as an example, there was way back in the day, there was the Lord of the Rings animated film. And then they did the 2 TV movies of The Hobbit and Return of the King. So I think Lord of the Rings was maybe 100 minutes, maybe close to 2 hours, somewhere in there.
Something
And
like that,
then
yeah.
the 2 TV movies, which I think were Filmation made those, were like 90 minutes. So once again, I mean, that book is like that thick. Have you seen those? What do you think of those?
I've seen the first one. I mean, it is old animation. Not saying it's bad, but there were some times where I was watching it and it's kind of like much
Now, when
longer.
you say the first one, do you mean Lord of the Rings because it came out first, or do you mean The Hobbit?
The Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
I'm not sure which ones came first. Did the Hobbit come first, or?
Well, no, Lord of the Rings played in the theaters first. That was, that did well, and then they did 2 TV movies. They did The Hobbit, and then they did
Okay,
Return
all
of the
right.
King
So,
after
so
that.
the
But
one I've seen is the Lord of the Rings animated movie.
yeah, because that one is done actually with live people, with real people, and then they animated them. So so which was really interesting. I'm a big. I know I'm going to mispronounce his name, Ralph Boschke. I know
I
I'm
know who.
mispronouncing it, but he did like American Pop, which was really good. He did one of my favorite animated films called Wizards,
Okay.
which is where I think Lucas stole Boba Fett from. There's very much a character like Boba Fett in that. Same type of idea, but yeah. So those are very condensed from the book, but they're entertaining. Now, of course, I really didn't know anything of the book when those originally came out. So for me, they were fine. But I guess maybe if somebody was a fan of the novels, they'd be kind of pissed off.
Like I said, it's all depend on how they execute it as well. I mean, let me get to an example. Just this past year, they did a series for Amazon Prime called The Wheel of Time.
Yes, I know of
Um,
that.
and I've read the first book, which I have right here. It's called The Eye of the World, which is basically what the first season was based around. And again, this is also another thick book too.
Yes, it is.
I think 700, 800 pages, somewhere around there. Anyway, my biggest problem is with the show, there was 8 seasons. So they could have done.
There was 8 seasons of that?
There's 8 episodes. I'm sorry, 8 episodos. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
8
God,
seasons.
I was going to say, shit, I didn't know that I even went past 1 season.
8 episodes. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't know. Tongue twister. Sorry. 8 episodes. And they were all an hour long. So basically, they got the Game of Thrones treatment at this point. And by episode 6, they started going in a completely different direction. They started changing characters to stuff that they were never supposed to be. The main one of the main characters, she was called an Aes Sedai, which is kind of like a female wizard. She loses her powers at the end of season 1. And it's like, what? No, that's no. I was. Have you ever heard the term flipping tables? That's what we were all doing.
I know I was that mad at the end. This isn't an adaptation, but at the end of the first season of second season of Twin Peaks, because I threw my shoe at the TV. I was so mad at the end of that. So I feel you. Now, the thing that I heard with that series is, and a lot of people weren't happy with it, is that they gender swapped, they color swapped, they made it more PC, they made it more woke, and that a lot of people didn't like that. And that's something that I do want to talk about on this is taking a character and changing it. And it could be male, female, it could be white, black, it could be whatever. So that's something that I do want to talk about more in this. I mean, what did you feel about that?
Well, my opinion of, if you're gonna do like a gender swap, at least make it make sense, if you know what I mean. As for black or white, I don't care what color you are, as long as you do the character justice. Great example, the Marvel movies. Nick Fury in the comics, he was a white man.
Yeah.
Now I cannot see anybody but Samuel L. Jackson playing Nick Fury. I mean, if it's not Samuel L. Jackson, I don't want my Nick Fury anyway. Anything but Samuel L. Jackson.
And it's funny is they actually did pretty good casting with David Hasselhoff. When he played Nick Fury, because he kind of looks like Nick Fury.
Okay.
Where
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they did some TV movies and he played Nick Fury and he had the patch on and all that stuff. And he actually looked like the character. But yeah, Samuel L. Jackson, I don't think it's like oh God, Duncan Paul Clark, the really big black guy that was in Stephen King's Green Mile. I got the names right. I'm just maybe saying them out of order. But
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, but he was Kingpin. And they, and I had no problem with that at all because he fit the part.
Yeah.
So it didn't have to be. Yeah, I agree with you. If it makes sense to a degree to change something, then I have no problem with it. You don't just have to stick with the one thing. So sometimes it's obnoxious when they do it, and
exactly.
Like it was only done for the sole purpose of being woke. So is that it gets changed.
That's when it bothers me, and like I said, I have no problem with this, but they also made one of the characters, the Aes Sedai in the Wheel of Time. They also made her a lesbian, which wouldn't bother me so much if that's what she was in the book. I mean, I have no problem with, if you want to have gay representation, I'm fine with that. But don't force it down our throats, if you know what I'm saying. And I'm not trying to sound like I'm being mean. I'm not trying to sound like I'm trying to put down the gay community, because I'm not. I'm just, make it make sense, if you catch what I'm trying to say.
Well, and this isn't adaptation, but those are my feelings on Doctor Who. I've been watching Doctor Who since the early 80s, and I watched it all the way up until it was a female doctor, and I said, I'm done. I'm not. And I gave it 2 seasons. I watched it and I hated it. And there was, one, they were screwing with the timeline, and they were saying that, they were just screwing with the entire story to fit her in. And it became very woke. It became, very it was forced. And my thing was, okay, I don't have a problem with the Doctor being a woman, just in the show currently, start it up in like 2 years and now make all the Doctors women. That's fine by me. That's okay.
Yeah.
Because they
especially
didn't even
something that's
address
been
it.
going on since like the 60s. I mean, and
It
then
premiered on the day JFK was assassinated.
oh wow, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Now, oh
Yeah, but they're saying now with Jodie Whittaker in there, they're saying now the show that there was a Doctor before the original Doctor that was a woman. So they're screwing up the whole thing. And it's like, no, it doesn't make sense. And then when the Doctor does become a woman, there's no like the Doctor is not looking going like, what the hell just happened to me? I now have breasts. You know, all of a sudden his TARDIS, which has primarily, I mean, it has clothes for males and females, but it's like, doesn't the Doctor have, I mean, the Doctor would still be a guy's brain because that's what the Doctor has always been, but now he's in a woman's body and they're not even addressing it. And that really annoyed me. And like I said, I gave it 2 seasons and I was done because it didn't make any sense except to cater to social justice warriors, to woke people, to, you know, cancel culture people that, and the show went down the toilet and everybody says it did, you know, and that's, which is why they're replacing her finally. But like,
they should have ended it with Peter Capaldi.
I agree with you. And then just, and he was one too long. He, you know, they had way too many Doctors before that. So they should have even gotten rid of the male, the last, Peter, they should have gotten rid of him, Peter Capaldi. And that would have done it because it's 12 regenerations and it went past that. But
it was supposed to be Matt Smith originally. It was supposed to be the final one, but then they turned it into, oh, I mean, be quite honest, me being the selfish guy, I kind of wanted this series to keep going, just me personally. But if it's gonna ruin the series, then I'd rather see it end completely,
and just start from scratch. It was horrible because they still have books, radio plays, shorts that they do. Like now they do the web episodes. So I mean, it could have. So, but with this whole gender swap thing, is I've heard that they've kind of done that now to go back to Lord of the Rings with Power of the Ring. That Amazon Prime is now like, it has very little to do with Tolkien. They are taking some things from it because they only have the rights to what is it? I'm going to mispronounce it. The Silmarillion.
I'm going to butcher it too. The Silmarillion, I think it's called.
Yes, I think you're correct. Yes,
it's essentially J.R.R. Tolkien's Bible, pretty much. I mean, this is pretty much the stories of Middle Earth just compiled into like essentially a Bible, pretty much. I mean, that's basically what they call it. It's the Lord of the Rings Bible is pretty much what people call it. Well, because there's a lot of like short stories, stuff that, you know, happened in Lord of the Rings that we never knew about. In the movie, I think I'm not sure if it goes into the book, but they explain the demon thing that why am I blanking on his name? The wizard guy.
Gandalf.
Yeah, Gandalf. I don't know why I was blanking on his name right there, but Gandalf faced at the beginning of at the end of Fellowship of the Ring. They go into what he is and what he, you know,
you called Gandalf a demon.
No, the demon that he fought.
Oh, I was gonna say, wait, that's why it took me long. Is Gandalf's not a demon? Okay.
No,
when he goes, you will not pass, that guy.
Yeah. That fire demon. I think it's called a Balrog or something like that.
I have no idea.
I have no idea either. I'm just saying, like, I've seen the name, and I was like, I don't know what this thing is, but it's supposed to be some sort of like a demon looking thing.
Well, and that's I think what most people have problems with The Hobbit is just Peter Jackson. Jackson did it also with King Kong. Is he basically just took everything that was left over and threw it all into 3 movies. So he's like, okay, we're gonna, each book would probably only really be 2 hours, but they're expecting 3. So we're gonna take everything, every poem, everything we could possibly think of, and throw it into these movies.
In a way, yes.
And then people found it to be boring, or like, why are these scenes in here? They don't make a lot of sense because he threw it all in.
Yeah, plus there's also some people, the crazy people like me, that actually want to see the extended cut and see the 11-hour version of the movie, of the whole entire movie. But that's just me, because I'm a psychopath like that.
No, I would not say you're a psychopath, because that's the only way I would watch them. I would only watch them as the extended ones. King Kong, I own, and it's his director's cut, which is like 3 hours long, 3.5 hours long. Like it takes 2 hours just to get to Skull Island. So, that there's so much added stuff into it. But I heard with Power of the Ring, or Power of the Rings, whatever it's called, that they're gender swapping. Like the female lead is technically a guy, but they changed it for the show to be female.
I'm not sure. I never, like I said, I haven't even read The Lord of the Rings, so I can't really say much about the book. So the Silmarillion's probably just, I'm equally as clueless about that. But I've heard a lot of people complaining and being very concerned about it. Will I watch it? I don't know, maybe.
I won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. And that is where that's the rights that they have, is to that book. So they that's why I think they're changing stuff around. And then so you have, and that's why a lot of Tolkien people are. I heard that the scholar, the Tolkien scholar, got fired from the show because he was like, this isn't Tolkien. This is not Tolkien. Tolkien would never do this. And because now they're kind of like what the guys did with Game of Thrones, is since George R.R. Martin hasn't finished that last book yet, they had to do stuff from their own brain. And
people are still mad about that, by the way.
Yeah. And so they're, without having George R.R. Martin as source material, they screwed it all up. And now I don't want to watch the show. And I watched the parts that I wanted to when I saw Dragon Queen naked, so that was good, fine by me, since I like her. But I pretty much,
to be quite honest, it wasn't as bad as everyone made it out to be. Or
are you just accepting it? Are you through the different death, exception, anger?
I think everyone was just mad at who got the Iron Throne. That's the whole reason. They wanted one person to get the Iron Throne, and he didn't get it. And it's like, okay, I took it as a completely different. I don't want to spoil it for people that haven't watched the Game of Thrones.
I think it's long enough. Spoilers for anybody. We are going to be giving spoilers to things.
Do you care? Do you care about it?
I don't care. No, because I'll probably never watch it.
All right. Well, Jon Snow, everyone wanted him to get the Iron Throne, because I guess in the end of season 7, you find out that he's actually the true Targaryen, the Dragon Queen. He's actually, I guess they're half sister, half brother. Because
oh no, why didn't you say spoilers? Now I can't watch it. You ruined it for me. Well, what about this prequel that's coming out? Is that based on any books that you know of? Or is that just brand new?
That is supposedly based on a book that it's called Fire and Blood, that George R.R. Martin wrote. And he wrote that instead of writing Winds of Winter, which is his, his book that he's supposed to be writing in the Game of Thrones series.
Oops. I think he just didn't want it to end. I think that he's just like, shit, if I write this book, I'm done.
I mean, with the amount of money he's getting, I don't think he cares anymore. The dude's in his like 70s now, like late 70s. So I don't even think he cares about finishing the series. He's just like, I made
Yeah,
my
but
money. I don't care.
that's the exact opposite of what Stephen King did with The Dark Tower. Is that he's like, I'm getting old. I don't want to die and not have this series finished. So he finished it. And then they made a shitty movie out of it. So
Yeah, I've heard.
which it's because to me that's like my Lord of the Rings or my Game of Thrones are the Dark Tower series. And I thought that see right there, there's a swap because the Roland, the gunslinger, is white, and in the movie it's Ezra Alba. Why am I having a hard time on all these names?
You and me both, man. You and me both.
Yeah, probably because I just got off of work. But it's the guy who they're thinking of. He's British, and that he might be the new James Bond. But you know what I'm talking about, right? Is Ezra Alba? He's been in like a ton of movies.
I'm not sure. I didn't see who's gonna play the next James Bond. To be quite honest, I mean, I've been kind of out of the James Bond loop for a while, so I do apologize.
He was also in The Losers. Did you see The Losers? That's an adaptation from a comic book.
I have not, so that's something I'm gonna have to check out.
So Idris Elba.
Okay.
He is, I'm going to click on him. So he's been in a fair amount of films. Well, he was in The Suicide Squad. Did you see that?
The first one?
No, the second one. The Suicide Squad?
I did not see the second one.
Okay. So it's probably whatever I say is not going to. He's in Beast. He's in a ton of stuff. The Harder They Fall. I know I'm mispronouncing his name, but he plays the gunslinger, and I was perfectly fine with that because he's such a great actor. and what the director did, because everybody was excited. First of all, it should have been a series. You know, HBO or not Netflix, screw them, but something like HBO or whatever should have
should have gotten the rights to it.
Yeah, and basically just gone kind of book by book. And instead, the director, who I guess is a huge fan of the series, decided to adapt elements from all the books and put them into one movie, and he called it like a prologue. And he's like, well, if people, because it was like 90 minutes or something, it wasn't very long, but it is well directed, it is well acted, the story itself is fine, it's beautiful looking, the effects are great. I mean, but it's hard to get past that thing of, why did you just not make the book? Why did you decide to make like a prologue that never existed to get people excited about the book? So if this film did well, they were then going to do the books. How about just doing the book?
Just do the gunslinger at that point.
Yeah, because the gunslinger, the book, are the short stories that King did over the years, like he did for like Playboy and Penthouse and Gallery and all those, and he put them into one book. So you could do one episode per story.
Yeah.
So maybe the first season would only be 4 episodes or 6 episodes, something like that. But that's because that's, you know, the gunslinger's like this thick, but then it's kind of like the books that you were showing.
Bigger.
The other books are like that. So you could do full
book number series. 7 is like close to 800, 900 pages.
Yeah. And it's nice. And
have you read the entire Dark Tower series?
I haven't read the entire thing. No, I unfortunately, I'm a huge Stephen King fan, but I stopped at a certain point and I just kind of didn't go back. And I need to now that, probably audiobook would be better because I could listen to it at work and stuff like that.
That's what I did with a lot of Stephen King books. I mean, my problem with Stephen King, and it's not Stephen King's writing. It's just how long he takes to get to the story, to the thing. Listening to it just I can get into it more because I'm hearing it. But reading it, I'll be like, huh?
Well, he says that he has diarrhea of the pen. And back in the day, he used to write while he was doing cocaine or he was drunk. So hence Tommy Knockers. So that's kind of when that came around. And then he was on cocaine while directing Maximum Overdrive. So,
He also said he doesn't remember writing Cujo.
So
it's like, ooh.
It's around that time. Yeah. So, well, I mean, speaking of Stephen King, my favorite novel, and I have to admit, I'm not a huge reader. So when I say it's my favorite novel, it's not like I've read 500 books or 1,000 books or whatever it is. But out of the books that I have read, this is my favorite novel. And I hate that Will Smith is on the cover. I really do.
Ooh.
So this is the book that started it. Yeah. That is a much better cover. And I originally had one that had a much better cover on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was broke and I sold a lot of my books and stuff. And I bought this when it came out again.
Which I have read this, and it's a great book. Great.
This is the book that inspired Stephen King. Without this book, we wouldn't have Salem's Lot. We wouldn't have The Stand. We wouldn't have, George Romero's Night of the Living Dead is based off this book. And
very influential.
Yeah, it's not. So for the people who have seen this Will Smith version, this is not the book. That is barely the book. And
it's like 10% the book.
Yeah.
Even that.
This is seriously one of the best books. And if I drive to LA, a lot of the times I have the audiobook of it. I'll bring the audiobook with me and listen to that. And it has one of the most depressing endings too, to a novel, which they changed in all the films. And
you did I have 3 different adaptations of I Am Legend, right?
This is the closest one. Last Man on Earth.
That's Vincent
Price. So this was done back in the 50s. And the screenplay is written by Matheson under an alias. It's shot in Italy, and it is the closest to the book that we will get.
Yeah.
And except they did change the ending. The whole idea of I Am Legend is not in any of these movies. So maybe that's why they changed the title. This is a great DVD. This is really good. It's got Richard Matheson even talks about the book, where he goes, why can't they just make my book? So this is my bucket list movie. If I ever get permission to make my own film, this is what I'm going to do is this book. But this is great. Black and white. Vincent Price is a little miscast, but he's really good in it. And for the most part, it does follow the book pretty close.
Yeah.
And then they did, now this is more of the Will Smith version, is Charlton Heston, the Omega Man, which pretty much
I have not seen that one.
It's good. It's just not the book. As a standalone film by itself, it's good. So you just can't compare it to the book.
Is that the one where he's, I'm not sure if I heard this correctly or not. Is that the one where he screws cheese?
Screws cheese?
I heard something about that. It might be a different movie. I'm sorry. That was.
No.
Okay. Never mind. It might be a different movie.
Yeah, it's definitely a different film. So this is LA. It's the 70s. And I mentioned this on another podcast, I said, this is the perfect representation of a film where time is stopped and he's never out of that time. So since this virus took over and just, killed everybody in the world and turned them kind of into these albino vampires that come out at night, Well, they're not really even vampires. Some are just kind of albino people. Everything is the 70s. So it doesn't matter if it's like 10 years after the plague, everybody still has the mutton chops, they got the afros, the bell bottoms. He's watching at the beginning of the film Woodstock and even goes, yeah, they don't make them like that anymore. So this film is permanently stuck in the 70s because that's where the plague took place, because it would not be, you wouldn't know. You would just be stuck in that time period. So this is a good film. I liked it. They were going to do a remake of it with Arnold Schwarzenegger, which I wish they did. And it's supposed to be Ridley Scott directing it. And I think that would have been really cool if they did that. And then, of course, you have this one here, the Will Smith one, which is closer to this than this. And as much as I dislike Will Smith and the entire Will Smith family, he does do a good job at this. But it's not the book. It's not even close to the book.
I was gonna say, movie, it's good, but an adaptation of a book, it does not come even close to the book.
No,
I mean, there's some elements that they took from the book, but very few. Like, I don't know,
because
they tried to make it more of a zombie movie than a vampire movie.
Well, yeah, because in these two, he's a doctor. In the book, he's not a doctor. In this, he's also a doctor, but he's not a doctor.
Yeah.
In the book,
he's just a normal everyday guy.
Yeah, and he lives in this house, and he's burnt down the two houses that are next to him, and it's all done basically through like voiceover. And he wonders why these ghouls, which are, I mean, they call them vampires, but they're not really. I mean, they don't suck blood or anything. They just want to kill him, but they only come out at night, so they use the whole kind of vampire trope, I guess, with them. But it's.
But then he also had like broken mirrors, and I think
they did like garlic. Yeah, mirrors. He staked them. So that was
it's essentially vampires.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that's not in. No, they do it in the Will Smith one, but they don't do it in the other ones. Which is in the book, he goes into the houses, finds them sleeping, almost kind of like John Carpenter's vampires in a way, and he ties them up and drags them outside and burns them alive in the sun. So it's and the whole book is, because it was written, the book was written in the 50s, is all about communism. So it's all about conforming and how he will not conform to these creatures that are now out there that now rule the world. He's like the last one, the last human. And that's because there's a reason why it's called I Am Legend. So I recommend to people to watch all three films and then read the book. But this is the closest one.
I've seen it's been a long time. I've seen the Will Smith one a couple of times. I think I've seen the Vincent Price one once, maybe twice. But it's been so long, I'm definitely would like to rewatch that one. But I haven't watched what's the other one? The Heston...
The Omega Man.
Yeah, Omega Man. That's the one I do want to watch at some point.
Yeah, Rob Zombie even has a song based off the movie. It's kind of just based on, it's called I Am Legend, but he mentions the Omega Man and all that. It's off one of the White Zombie albums.
What hasn't White Zombie sang about?
So yeah, this is my dream, because I guess originally they were going to do the book and Richard Dreyfuss was going to be the main character. And I could see that, because he is more of an everyday man. Because that's what you need. You need the guy that lives next door, just the dad, just some guy, not a football player, not, just a regular guy who
just a regular Joe Schmo. That's relatable. Yeah, I mean, a doctor, it's not really relatable. I mean, it is, but it isn't. But I mean, that's another thing that I can't stand. It's something so simple as that. Why can't we just make him a normal dude?
I guess because
Why do we have to make him a doctor?
I guess because they have to explain the virus.
You don't have to explain. I need to quit freaking over-explaining stuff, man.
Because they don't. It's that's kind of the idea also with Night of the Living Dead is you think it's the Venus satellite, but we don't know that.
Yeah.
It's not, excuse me, not 100%. So it's never really, and that's why so many zombie films, there is no explanation. And it's all based off of this.
Exactly.
And that's, for those of you guys who don't know, also Richard Matheson wrote some of the best episodes of The Twilight Zone. So, and he's written many, he has a lot of good books out there. Unfortunately, some of them were not made into the best movies. So, but this is definitely I think his crowning achievement. So,
yeah. It's what he's best known for is I Am Legend.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's other books he's known for, but that's if you hear Richard Matheson, you think I Am Legend.
Yeah, because I think maybe the one that people might know of, but they don't know, is What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good book, but it's not a good movie.
I have not seen the movie, sir. I haven't read the book either, sir.
Yeah, it's not really. His short stories are much better. The ones that he did for Twilight Zone. So because those all came out in different. Oh, Duel. What am I talking? Duel. One of Steven Spielberg's first movies is him. There's an adaptation. That's an adaptation right there, or adaptation that they took from the short story, made into a great TV movie that then ended up being a movie overseas, and that's what we get now on, on like DVD or Blu-ray. And that's. Have you seen Duel?
I have not. That's one I was definitely. I'm telling you, there's a lot of movies I haven't watched, but it's definitely. But you're adding more to my list every day, John. I'm telling you.
Well, when you see it, get the I don't know if it's on. I'm assuming it's on Blu-ray, but there's a good documentary with Spielberg, and he tells you how he made the movie, because none of it is. They wanted them to shoot the film on a green screen. And he's like, no, this has to be live. It all has to be up in the mountains and on the highways. And it's this actor, Dennis Weaver. He's in a red car. Spielberg said it has to be a red car so the camera will always see it. And he's driving, and he drives past this gasoline truck. And it's dirty and it's rusty. And it looks like if you touch it, you get tetanus. And it's just disgusting and evil looking. And he passes it, and this guy decides to try to kill him. So the whole movie is this guy, and you never see the driver of the truck. And Spielberg took Jaws because of Duel. He said, well, killer truck, killer shark. Another book that was turned into a movie. Duel has 4 letters. Jaws has 4 letters. And when the shark is falling at the bottom, in the movie, when it gets blown up and it's like kind of sinking, that sound is the truck from Duel.
Okay.
Because he says that Duel is like they're like kindred spirits. They go together. So if you watch Jaws, you should watch Duel. Duel's a great movie.
Now that you're explaining it, I think I may have caught bits and pieces of it on TV or something.
On TV. Yeah.
Yeah. So. I probably have seen bits and pieces of it, but I'm definitely going to have to check it out.
Well, before I get into my other stuff, because I've kind of touched on Jaws and I want to get into that, what do you got?
Well, that was pretty much all the book adaptations I have. I wanted to bring up one more thing about the Wheel of Time adaptation before we move on. Back in 2007, the author unfortunately passed away. And he didn't finish the series. So he had another author named Brandon Sanderson come and finish up take his notes and finish up what he finish up the story. And he was very picky with the book. When he wrote he was only supposed to be one last book, but Robert Jordan said he wanted the book to be so big that you had to take it out in a wheelbarrow. So he split that book up into 3 books. So he got the book so big that you can take it out in a wheelbarrow, but in 3 separate volumes. So
That's funny.
So Robert Jordan got his wish. But anyway, Brandon Sanderson is actually one of the he was one how do you call it? He was involved in the series, and they confronted him a lot of times, and there was a lot of times he even said, "I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. That's that. I wouldn't do that." They did it anyway.
Of course.
So,
of course.
So even he was like, "There's a lot of things I didn't want them to do, but they did it anyway." And he said, I got to the point to where it's another turning of the wheel, which is what Robert Jordan always said. Basically, if they ever made an adaptation, it'll be another version of the story, because it's essentially like the whole story is a continuous the dragon reborn, which is like supposed to be like this like a savior of the world kind of deal. And there's always the evil guy I can't remember the name of it. The dark one or something like that. I forget what they called it. And it's basically Jesus versus Satan, but in a fantasy novel.
Okay.
Best way I can describe it. So it's a continuous loop. It's over and over and over again. So as the story ends, it's starting back over again. So that's why they say it's another turning of the wheel. So it's essentially its own version of the story.
Okay.
So that's why he tells everyone to try to make everyone forget about the crappy choices that they made, but that's not going to happen.
Well, do you think it's at times just best not to read the novels? I mean, it's just watch the movies and just don't, because like I pointed out to you before we started this, I got Lord of the Rings right there. I got the extended versions. I'm perfectly happy with them. I'm fine with them. Do I need to read the books and get pissed off, or that, or just watch the movies and just don't worry about it?
That's up to you personally. Me, I've always wanted to read the novels, so I'm going to read the novels, but I'm also a type person that I am not going to get mad if the adaptation doesn't like pan out right.
I do,
because I'll tell you, like I said, you will always have this. They cannot come into your house and take this away from you. So you will constantly have this. So if the adaptation ticks you off so bad, just go read this.
Yeah, I mean, but it's, I don't know, with something like I Am Legend and the author, and now is his son, Richard Christian Matheson, also writes novels and screenplays. So you still have the Matheson family out there. Just make the book into a movie. Why does it have to be, because on the Will Smith one, it says based on the novel by, then it says screenplay by, and then the new one says based on the screenplay. So that middle one is the Schwarzenegger script.
Okay.
So they're going from book to Schwarzenegger script to Will Smith script.
Okay.
Just make the book, man. Why can't you just make the book? Because
that would be too easy.
Well, okay, so like I'd mentioned Jaws, and I have read Jaws because I was very curious. Except for the shark, it's got very little to do with the book. So it's like Brody is in the movie, but he's 300 pounds and a slob. Ellen, his wife, is in the book, So's Hooper, but they're having an affair. And the shark doesn't kill the people the same way that's in the movie. The shark's also known as a seal. That's what they keep calling it, a seal. And Hooper is having sex with Ellen because Ellen used to date his brother, like back in high school. And near the end, well, then Quint wants them to come with him in the book. In the movie, you know, Quint's like, I don't want you guys to come with me. This is my thing. And then Brody says, well, I'm paying you, so we're going. But in the book, Quint's like, you're coming with me. And that whole speech about the battleship that went down and all that stuff with Quint, that's just for the movie. That's not even in the book. So it's near the end, Hooper goes down into the cage. So in the book, in the cage, the shark goes through the cage, grabs him out, bites him, and launches itself into the air. And Brody knows that Hooper's having the affair and starts shooting with his handgun, never hitting the shark and only hitting Hooper. And he thinks, am I purposely shooting Hooper because I know this? Because I'm not hitting the shark. And then the shark falls down. So Hooper dies in the book, which he was originally supposed to die in the movie, but they changed it. And then the Quint is basically Ahab. And he's throwing harpoons into the shark, and they're all getting wrapped up, and his leg gets caught in the shark, or I'm sorry, in the rope, and the shark drags him under the water, drowning him. And Brody doesn't shoot the shark and have it blow up because it's got the tank in it. Is the shark has so many harpoons in it that Brody is like here, and the shark just goes and just dies. It just completely runs out of life. And Brody looks down into the water, and he could see Quint kind of like, as the shark just floats down dead, is just kind of doing this behind it as he's being dragged down. The book is very different than the movie.
It sounds to me like it's Jaws meets Days of Our Lives.
This is one of those rare occasions. Like the beginning of the book is the same. The girl swims out, she gets killed. But it's if they never made the movie, the book would be fine. But this is one of those cases where the movie is better than the book.
One of the very few rare occasions.
Yeah. And it had on it like 5 different writers, but there's only like 2 listed, you know, because Benchley wrote one version of the script, and then Spielberg wrote one version of the script. And Robert Shaw like basically wrote his version of the script because he's the one who brought in the Indianapolis. And then they had I'm blanking on his name, and I should know this.
Hey, look that up real quick. I gotta go grab something real quick.
Okay. So Jaws writers. So that's yeah, man. So it had 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. Richard Matheson wrote. Oh no, because that's for Jaws 3. Richard Matheson did write Jaws 3.
Richard Matheson wrote Jaws 3.
He did. Carl Gottlieb. He was the guy that came on set. He's actually in the movie for a little bit too. He helps out the mayor. But when he came on, that's when the script kind of all came together. Some of the script went into Jaws 2. And that's another one where the book is not the movie. The town is like deserted. It's like dead because of the shark attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a different book than what the movie is. I don't think they did a novelization of Jaws 3. Jaws
Probably
3 is
not.
basically Gorgo. If you've ever seen that British movie called Gorgo, where
No.
it's a little monster that they find, and they don't realize that its mother is right behind it. And it's kind of the same story that they use for Jaws 3, is they find
Okay.
the little great white, and the great white dies, but
Yeah.
mom is still in the aquarium somewhere. So yeah, so Matheson wrote at least a draft of that. He is listed in the credits. And then Jaws 4, The Revenge, once again, the book is different, is it brings in the mafia, it brings in voodoo, that the shark is killing the Brodies because of voodoo, and follows them to the island that they're on. So the book has all the original stuff from the script that they cut out.
So there were books written for Jaws 2 and 3 and 4?
I don't think 3 ever had a novelization.
But
they
2
did,
and
but 2 and 4 did.
I didn't even know there was novels for those. I thought it was just Jaws and that was it.
No.
Okay. Oh, I stand corrected. Learn something new every day.
Yeah. So that's so anybody who likes the Jaws stuff, I mean, I recommend reading the books, because the books are different. They're they're quite different. I mean, it would be interesting if they made, because in the book for Jaws, the original, the shark's seen a lot, and it's not seen in the movies because the shark would never work. Otherwise, it would have been ripping through the water and popping out and all that type of stuff. So,
yeah. I mean, I never read the Jaws books. I've wanted to. There's a bunch of novels that I've wanted to read. One of them was Jurassic Park. I've actually read a little bit of it. And there is a big difference between the book and the movie. I mean, when you look at the movie, it's basically a kids movie. The book was actually essentially a horror story.
Doesn't Malcolm die in the first book?
I'm not sure.
And then they bring him back in the second one.
I'm not sure. I didn't read the entire Jurassic Park book. I do know from the beginning, I guess one of the dinosaurs gets out of the park that they were doing, and it's just a little one, and it kills a girl.
Well, that would be the beginning of Lost World.
Probably. It's been a while since I've seen.
Yeah, the rich family is on the island, and the little girl runs off, and she finds all those little fast-running dinosaurs, and they all kind of jump on her and eat her.
It's been a while since I've seen this. I've seen the first Jurassic Park like hundreds of times. The second one, I'm not even sure if I've actually seen the second one the whole way through, because a lot of them I would catch on TV a lot of times, and half the time I would catch them like right in the middle somewhere. That's why I hate watching stuff on TV.
Yeah,
I've seen 3 more than any of them. So.
Oh, part 3.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I like part 3.
I thought you said you didn't care for part 3.
No, I don't like. From the video that I made is I don't like Dominion, and I didn't like Fallen Kingdom.
Oh, okay. So was it 3 or Lost Worlds you put like down low?
With like my ranking?
Yeah.
I think it was the first Jurassic Park is number 1. Number 2 is Jurassic World. Number 3 would be Jurassic Park 3. Then it would be, I guess it would be Lost World,
Okay.
and
All
then
right.
it'll go
So,
Fallen Kingdom, and then Dominion.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think they should do. I think they should make books, out of movies, no matter what. I think that they should always make adaptations into books, because I think you get it sometimes a lot more in the book. You get all that stuff that's cut out in the novel, like the Terminator Salvation. There's a book that comes before it,
Okay.
and I read that, and it explains some of the stuff in the movie that John Connor does, that's not really brought up, but it's just little things like, why does he have the cassette of Guns N' Roses,
Yeah.
in Salvation, and in the book, his wife gives it to him.
Mhm.
But it's I think that they should do a lot more novels
I'm
based
pretty
on
sure they have.
films.
I'm pretty sure they have.
But like I want I want all 4 Jaws books. I want them so I could put them all together. Like I think they got as far with like the Halloween movies. They did Halloween, Halloween 2, and Halloween 3. I don't think they continued past that. The weird thing is with the Halloween book is the original, Michael Myers talks in it. We actually see his like childhood and stuff. It's kind of weird. So it's different.
Yeah. Okay.
So
That's
what
I mean,
about
I like.
comic books? What do you think about comic books being
I
adapted?
am not the biggest comic reader. Um, I really don't have much to say when it comes to comic books. So yeah. I mean, I like the the movies that they make, but as far as are they faithful to the comics, I wouldn't
Most
be
of the
able to tell
time,
you.
hell no.
Probably not, but I mean, you would assume they probably messed up something or they left stuff out, or I mean. I mean, the only
It's
thing I could
difficult.
really say is the only thing I know is the whole Nick Fury thing. I mean, Nick Fury being white in the comics, and in the movies he's it's played by Samuel L. Jackson, which is the thing I like about that is Samuel L. Jackson does Nick Fury faithfully, even if he's black.
Right.
And so that's where I look at it. I don't care who you get to play it. Just make sure he knows who he's playing. Make it so that he acts like the character. He looks, or he at least somewhat looks similar to the character. He always had an eye patch. So there you go. They put an eye patch on him.
That's all it takes, just the eye patch.
Mhm.
Okay. My problem with the comic book things is that I used to, for like 20 years, I was an avid comic book collector. And I had like a good 1,000 or so comic books, and that I collected from when I was a kid all the way up to, I want to say, like 25. And sometimes some things just don't work. Like Spider-Man being my favorite Marvel character,
Mhm.
like with the Sam Raimi black Spider-Man suit, that's not how he got that costume. But you can't do the Secret Wars, and because that's when Marvel redid everything and gave everybody new costumes and new powers and all that stuff. And so there was no Venom, there was no any of that stuff. There was just he got the costume because he went to like a different like plane of existence type of thing.
Different dimension.
Yeah, different dimension is what I'm trying to say. And then he got the costume, and then of course the fans didn't like it, so they tried to think of a different way of doing it, and then that's kind of how the whole symbiont thing came in. And Brock, the reporter, got Venom and
Mhm.
and all that, and changed it. So I get that you can't always do everything,
Yeah.
but that was kind of like, okay, well, how are they going to pull this off? Oh, it's a meteorite. Okay, I guess. All right, that's fine. And then like Doomsday, for Spider-Man. That's how they just did it. And Zack Snyder's, Batman v Superman that's not Doomsday. That's not how Doomsday came about. I believe, if I remember correctly, it was he came down in an asteroid, and he started to grow, and and killed Superman. So same thing with Batman, I guess. Bane did break his back in the movie, but it's not the comic book. Bane is huge. Surprisingly, Bane looks like Bane from Batman and Robin, the movie, not like the Christopher Nolan film. So I don't know. That sometimes the comic book stuff annoys the shit out of me. So
yeah, I mean, I think my biggest problem with comic books is that there's so many of them. And I'm a type person, if I want to read something, I want to read from the very beginning. And there's probably thousands upon thousands of comics.
Oh yeah.
And
spin-offs and there's the Amazing Spider-Man, the Spectacular Spider-Man, there's Spider-Man, there's just the Punisher alone has I think 4 or 5 different comics the last I saw.
And then you have all the crossovers you're gonna have to keep up with, and it's like, this is why I stopped watching the Arrowverse because they kept going on to this whole thing where they would cross over and you have to watch every single series in order to keep up with it. And I was like, forget it.
Well, and Walking Dead got all messed up because they were more or less following the comics until they let the kid go, Chandler, until they let him go, like they fired him. And that's when they couldn't follow the comic anymore. So then they kind of time jumped with the little girl, the daughter of the sheriff. And that's when I stopped. But it was supposed to be, I'm blanking on the kid's name, the character's name. How old are we? Why are we forgetting all these? Walking.
Oh my god, it's Rick's son.
Yeah, the Carl.
Oh my god.
So yeah, so Carl was supposed to be with what's his face with the bat, with Negan.
Yeah.
So he was supposed to be keeping him in like a basement or like a kind of like a room under a house. It may not have technically been a basement. And he kind of became like the father figure to him. And when they fired the actor who played Carl, they couldn't do that anymore.
They had to have him get bit by a zombie, and he ended up killing himself. Which is stupid because from what I understand in the comics, he becomes the leader of the pack of the group in the comics, and his dad kind of like takes a back seat because I guess in the comics his dad loses his arm, and I guess he lost an eye too or something.
He did lose an eye because he got shot. Yeah, so he had an eye patch for a while, or I guess he had an eye patch up until he died. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then,
because
I guess in the comic, Rick loses his arm because he got bit, but he amputated his arm just in time, so the infection didn't get to him. At least that's what I remember seeing in the comics.
I don't think I got that far with the comic. I kind of stopped when they deviated from it because I know covers, and there's ones with Carl and Michonne on them. And you see like them walking together, like now they're the two main people.
Yeah.
But I kind of lost interest once they stopped kind of following the comic. So, but
so here's my question to you. So you have read the comics, or at least up to a certain point?
Yeah.
How do you feel that Daryl and them were not even in the comics?
I actually like that.
So they have like an extra character that we can root for, and plus you gotta love the actor that plays Daryl. I mean,
yeah, I guess they became, because he became such a popular character, that they incorporated him into the comic. So
did they?
that did not bother me at
Okay.
all. I don't mind when you add somebody new, as long as you stick with the, with the original plan. That's fine.
Exactly.
Give somebody, makes it a little bit more interesting. So, that's because like when Negan killed, my God, I'm looking at the cast here to I think Negan killed Abraham, and everybody went, oh, okay, so he's not going to kill
Glenn.
Thank you. And then he goes and kills Glenn. In the comic book, he kills Glenn, but not Abraham.
Yeah.
So that was a twist, and I didn't mind that at all. I thought that actually worked.
Yeah.
And it's like, anybody who was following the comic book, I don't know why people got so mad, unless they just expected them to change it. But yeah, I mean, if you follow the comic, you knew it was going to be Glenn, which is why I think they did Abraham first, is for you to go, oh, they're not going to kill Glenn. I never liked Glenn. I thought that I don't know what Maggie saw in him at all. I have no idea, especially in the early episodes, where she's basically just having sex with him to have sex with him. That's about it. I just don't. I don't get what she saw in him. I never liked him as a character that much.
Yeah.
Maggie's too hot. Maggie's way too hot for Glenn. So, well, now you had watched a movie earlier today. You watched Clue.
I did.
And what did you think of Clue?
I actually really enjoyed it. I love the ending.
Now, where did you watch it?
I watched it on Amazon Prime.
Did it have the multiple endings?
Yes, it did.
Oh, okay, good. Okay. Yeah, because those played in different theaters. So there.
Oh, okay.
So you could go to one theater and see one ending, and then you could drive across town and see the other ending.
Okay, so how they did it on Amazon Prime, I'm pretty sure they did it with the Blu-ray releases as well, where they would play they'd be like, this is how it ended, and then they'll show you the first person that supposedly killed the cook and all that. Then it says, but here's another thing. This is another way it ended, and then they show another ending. And then all of a sudden, here's what really happened.
Yeah, that's added on. I think they even did that for the VHS, maybe, is that they had them all on the end. But if you saw it in the theater, it was just one.
Yeah.
So
I wasn't expecting it. I mean, this is the very first time I watched it, so I was like, huh? I was like, oh. And I was like, now that you're telling me that they did that in different theaters, it makes a lot of sense.
I was very excited because and I'd mentioned this to you in the message that I'm a fan of the band Fear, and so Lee Ving for a while was the lead singer of Fear. He was acting in films, so he was like the Wildlife. He was the Mr. Body in this, and of course, he had one of the Go-Go's in it too. She was tap dancing and got shot.
I was kind of messed up.
Doing the
I do have one Clue game. I have the VCR mystery game.
That is old school, man.
Have you played it? I have not. You know the best part is?
What's that?
I only paid 10 cents for it.
Wow. Why 10 cents? Garage sale or something?
Yeah, it's a flea market or something. We had a flea market down here. There's a place called the Bulldog Arena down here where I live, and they used to have a indoor flea market the first Saturday of every month, and there was one guy which he's also a filmmaker. Yeah, I'll talk to you later about that. He's an alright filmmaker. I'll say it like that. But I guess he owned the place for a while, and he was open. He had a little flea market, and he was the one that was selling that. So So I went ahead and
Oh,
bought it.
okay. All right, cool. We'll collect. Have you ever checked to see how much it's actually worth? Like, is it
I
complete?
have not. I don't know, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to like look it up and see like what all supposedly comes with it. Look at the back and compare it
it
and see what.
it sits on top of the Lord of the Rings book.
Pretty much.
Well, so speaking of games, so I have two from Hasbro, which would be Battleship, You Sunk It. What's that? The 4K? Oh yeah,
Yes.
mine's the regular, and Ouija.
That's where you and me go separate ways, bro.
So this is not good. Well, it's dumb fun, but it's not good. This is Mike Flanagan, who's a friggin' genius, who's adapts a lot of good Stephen King stuff. So like Doctor Sleep and some other.
Didn't you do Gerald's game?
Yes, he did. He is very good. Yeah, he's my favorite filmmaker right now. So, but what did you think of Battleship? Do you think it lived up to the game?
It's been a while since I've seen it, but from what I remember, it's a war movie. I mean, it's a such. I mean, what can you make? I mean, what other story can you do with Battleship? I mean, besides it being a war movie about them shooting ships.
But the game doesn't have aliens in it, though. It's you battling
It
me.
does have aliens, and it doesn't. It's been a while since I've seen it, so.
They land on it's water. That's I think that's what they want from us is water, and their ships kind of go out like this. They hop. Okay. They hop on the water, and then that's the ship right there, and it hops on the water, and they launch the little pegs that are from the game, and they hit the battleships and blow up. So they had the pegs in them, and they had the battleships, they had the water, but the game never had aliens. So I guess maybe that's like the only way of doing it.
Maybe that's what your opponent was, the alien people. We just never knew.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe in disguise or something. It's weird seeing Rihanna in it, though. Like, what a weird movie for her to be in.
I mean,
I don't like him. This guy's a douchebag. I just don't like him as an actor or anything. He just bugs me. And I don't know his name. I'm not a big fan of him. But he starts the whole thing. He ruins the whole thing. So the ship is sitting in the water. He walks up to the ship and like hits on it. And then all of a sudden it goes, and it like all starts up. And it's like, dude, leave shit alone. Leave shit alone. It's like when I tell people,
if you didn't mess it up, there wouldn't be much of a movie, would there be?
But leave it alone. It's like I tell people this with cannibal movies. Stop, especially if you're white, stop going to third world countries to help people. You're just going to be eaten by cannibals. Stop it. The movies tell us these things.
Tell me how you really feel, John. Tell me how you really feel.
I'm telling you, it's always these white people who have to be the saviors and go down and help these third world country people, and then they end up getting eaten. Stop. And this dick has to hit the ship. The ship was just sitting there doing nothing, just sitting there. And then now that started everything. It's like, you douchebag. What are you doing? He's like a douche from the minute the movie begins. And then he gets this girl who's hot. Because he's a douche. And that's her dad, Mr. Taken, Liam Neeson. So I thought it was okay. I like the spinning wheels that they had, that they sent onto the land, that like destroyed streets and all that stuff. I thought was good. But this is directed by Peter Berg, who is, I guess, now become like the freaking John Wayne of movies, like as actors. Like this guy only does like all American type movies. Like everything is raw America. So I don't know. and these are, I mean, God, there's like what 10,000 Ouija movies, but these are Hasbro. These are the official Hasbro game movies.
Okay.
So the second one is worth watching. That it's a prequel, so that's worth watching. This is worth watching. Why not? So, but yeah. So those are my two. I don't think I had any others that were Hasbro movies. They're both Universal too. But it is, yeah. Copyright Hasbro. Yeah. So now that we're still talking, now we got games going. What about Resident Evil? What do you got there? You pulled something down. What do you got? What'd you grab?
Actually have a book that was adapted into a video game.
Okay. Oh, okay. The opposite. All right. What's that?
Okay. I'm pretty sure you've read it in probably high school or something. Have you ever read The Divine Comedy? Or at least heard of The Divine Comedy?
I know of it. I've not read it. I do know that the Mila Jovovich album that she made is called The Divine Comedy.
Okay. It's basically about a guy that goes into the 9 circles of hell and all that. Well, they made a game based on that book.
Okay.
Called Dante's Inferno.
Oh, I know that game. Okay.
And it's essentially your character coming back from the Crusades, only to have the devil steal his girlfriend and takes her down into. I know, right?
What it did?
And takes her down into hell, and you have to go after and fight the devil to get your girlfriend back, or fiance, or whatever. So.
Yeah, I know Dante's Inferno. I know that of the journey that he has to take and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So,
but that's what the Divine Comedy was like based. That's originally what I guess it was originally called the Divine Comedy, and then they turned it into Dante's Inferno or whatever. There was actually an animated movie on that too. So,
based on the game or the book?
I think it leans more towards the game. But it goes more into like the backstory a little more. It's hard to explain, but it takes almost all the story of the game, which is only like a 5-hour game, believe it or not. It only took me 5 hours to beat the game. And it's kind of short. Kind of.
Seems like it.
I mean, I can't complain. I only paid $5 for it, so.
Do you think there's been a good movie adapted from a video game? Like one that you could legitimately say? I mean, I've heard people say, I've watched it, but like Mortal Kombat, I've never played Mortal Kombat. I've heard people say that's a good one, but I don't know how close it is to the game, though.
I mean, those are arcade fighters, so you can't really mess those up. I mean, you can, but you can't, if that makes any sense. I mean, you can't. It's basically... The whole concept of Mortal Kombat is these people getting together to fight in a tournament and only one person can survive. That's the whole concept. So basically, if you've seen the movie, that's pretty much the whole concept of the games.
Yeah, I've seen and I'm referring to the original, not the one that just came out or the awful sequel.
The 1995 or whatever.
Yeah, the Paul W.S. Anderson film. So... See, I don't mind, some of these ones that people seem to hate. Like I kind of flashed it, but I'm a huge Mila fan, and I've been in love with her since Return to the Blue Lagoon. I was a lot younger back then, so it was okay. Even though she was like a teenager when she made it, but I even got to meet her and hang out with her. So.
All right.
I was at her record release party for the Divine Comedy, and we I could kill myself. This is one of those things, God, that I just fucking regret. Is I had her sign a poster, really nice poster of her too, and she signed it to John, all that stuff, and then she signed the CD for me, and then because I'm an idiot, I friggin' sold it, and now I regret it because I still got it. She's still my number one. She's still my favorite. So, but it's a great album. I love the album. Some of the songs were in movies in the 90s, like Rules of Attraction. She has a song in there called The Gentleman Who Fell. And it's good stuff. It's kind of folky sounding. But my light just went out. So I'm going to change this here to, I don't think it ran out of battery. It's kind of weird. So let's do, boom, a little bit more manual. There we go. That works. There. I think I'm kind of back to normal now. But have you watched the Resident Evil films? Are you a fan of those?
I have.
Be honest. You can be honest.
To be quite honest, they're good as movies, action movies, zombie movies. They're not really great Resident Evil movies.
Well, that's what I've heard, is that people were pretty pissed off that the with Alice, because Alice is not in the game.
Alice is not what upsets me. I mean, she's pretty much the second Wesker, the good guy version of Wesker. Isn't she one of the ones that has, like, when she takes the vaccine, the virus, she gets like superpowers and stuff like that?
Yeah, they kind of go back and forth. Yeah, with the two, it's kind of like whenever Paul W.S. Anderson wants her to have the powers, he gives them back, and then in the next movie he just takes them away.
Mm-hmm. Well, in the video games, and I can show you, I got almost. Well, these are not all the games.
Oh wow! Okay, so I am a little bit of the opposite. I have all the movies.
Do you have the CG movies?
I don't, but I do want them. They all three are now out, or at least the three that were out at the time are now on Blu-ray.
Those ones are more loyal to the games. Those ones are more like, you see Leon S. Kennedy, which is my favorite character out of the Resident Evil series. Let me go ahead and show you the games real quick. I got Resident Evil 0. Not 1, not 2, but 3 copies of the first Resident Evil game.
Wow. Okay.
This is the original. These are the remakes.
Okay.
So, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3.
Okay. Nemesis. I know Nemesis.
And not 1, but 2 copies of Resident Evil 4.
Oh. What about Outbreak? I've always liked that cover for Outbreak.
Yeah, horrible game.
Oh, I love the cover.
It's a great cover. I mean, these games have great covers, but a lot of the secondary games or the what if storyline deals are horrible.
Well, I see. That's why I don't. One, the games take too much time. I don't want to sit there and play all the games. It's just too much time. So for me, I'll stick with the original Resident Evil. I love Mila. I love Mila so much. It's amazing. She is always my number one. And she married a geek. How awesome is that? She didn't marry some handsome, buffed up asshole millionaire. You know, she married a film geek. I mean, how cool. Say what you will about Paul W.S. Anderson. She married a geek, and she's like a supermodel. So, but she could get anybody.
Paul W.S. Anderson. I think he made some great movies. I mean, regardless of the Resident Evil movies not being completely faithful, I could see what he was trying to do.
He took elements. He is a fan of the series. He's played all the games. He knows what he's doing. And he took elements from it to create something different. And I know people just want, the house. People just want everybody in the house. The new Resident Evil series that is on Netflix, my God, is that an abortion? It is so horrible. if they make season 2, I'm canceling Netflix. I mean, it's it is so awful. Talk about just a drama. It's like they took Euphoria, got an actress who looked like the lead actress from Euphoria, you know, was in all the Spider-Man movies, the chick with one name, and then put in a whole bunch of songs that would be in Euphoria. And it's awful. The actor that plays Wesker is a great actor. And they changed his color, so now he's black instead of white, which was fine because he's a great actor. But he's only that Wesker for like 5 minutes, and he looks like Blade. They made him look like Blade. So it's like they didn't even give him his own personality. This show is awful. I watched every episode. I hated it. I hated that Resident Evil version. And I mean, I have watched all of these. Like here's Apocalypse, and it's got this really cool slip jacket on it. I got that. I got, of course, Extinction. I've seen all of these, like probably like 5 times each. Then we get into the 3D of Afterlife. Then we get into the 3D with Retribution. Mila looks different in every single movie. She's always hot in every single film. And then this is the one that took me the longest to get used to. Final Chapter, which looked like a friggin' epileptic edited this film. You know, somebody was on speed or something. And it's taken me years to like this film because the editing is so awful that now I like it. But I heard, I don't know, have you seen this one?
I have not.
So I heard this is part games, it's 1 and 2.
Okay.
That's
to be honest, when with the I'm sorry, I keep messing his name up. What's the directors of Resident Evil's name?
Paul W.S. Anderson.
Yeah, I keep getting the 2 letters mixed up, sir. I don't want to say it and mess it up. With the first 2 Resident Evil movies, I really enjoyed. I mean, they were more faithful to the games. I mean, the first one was kind of in a mansion, kind of not.
The beginning and ending, it's bookended in the mansion, but that's where they go underground. Yeah, and they end up in Umbrella in the lab. So it mostly takes place in the lab, but the mansion is on top.
Yeah,
and then the second one is in the city. So mansion, underground.
So that's how the first game. The first game was in the mansion, and then the second game, actually the second and third game, were in Raccoon City, which is so that's that one. Extinction is kind of where I fell off because.
Well, and I'm sorry, this one has Nemesis. Part 2 has Nemesis in it.
Yes, so
if you remember,
that's why I'm saying Resident Evil 1 and 2 and 3. The games were actually taking place at the same time. So it was all in Raccoon City. So they combined both of those into one. So it makes sense. And I really enjoyed the first 2. Extinction, that kind of went off on their own.
I don't think this is based on anything. I love that it's in Vegas, though, in the desert.
Yeah.
So
I fell off it back then because of that. But I would love to give him a second chance because my only problem with the movies, and I've seen like clips of the later movies. My biggest problem is Wesker. Chairman Wesker. No, I have to show you a clip of the scene from the 5th game. It really shows you who Wesker really is, and he's just he's an awesome character. And when you see him as Chairman Wesker, it's like,
Chairman Wesker's better than this guy. This guy, he gets the sunglasses at the end. He's a cop, and all he's just made fun of because he's like the new recruit, and they just pick on him throughout the entire movie. I've heard this follows the games much closer. It's 1 and 2. But it does follow the games and the characters closer. Like the director's like an uber fan of the games. But I did not like it. I'm sorry. I'm gonna stick with Mila. I'm gonna. So far, we haven't hit. But they have these guys that I've always wondered. They look like the executioners, that would be at like like the gallows,
Hmm.
and they would have the bag over their head.
Yeah.
It's so they got these guys that got like the nails in them. So they got the bags, they're giants, they're huge, and they carry around that big battle axe. Are they in the game?
I don't remember anything like that. Maybe in five in Resident Evil 5.
Yeah, it's hard to
I
see
think there
because
was
it's right there, but it's
because Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6 really kind of go in a different direction. These are the games that a lot of people hated. Resident Evil 4, which is actually one of my favorites, is actually it's Spain, not Spain. Everyone, all us fans of the game call it, because it's clearly Spain they're in, and it's not Spain, it's Spain, people, it's Spain. And it's like because they're in a Middle East town, and there's everyone speaking Spanish. It's great.
okay.
The fifth one takes place in Africa, and you can see that there's a lot of it started turning into action games instead of survival horror, which is technically what the games are originally supposed to be. So the movies, I guess, kind of like after the second one, they kind of just went off on their own, which I can respect.
Well, this
But
is
like
just
I
it's
said,
Road Warrior. I mean, that's what this is. This is Road Warrior.
mm-hmm.
That's it's directed by Russell Mulcahy, who did the Highlander movies. But yeah, it's basically just the Road Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's good. So yeah. So I'm guessing that like Afterlife has nothing to do with the games.
Probably not.
Retribution, which is for the most part takes place in the ocean and in different pods that are supposed to be different countries. But she goes from Russia to
How familiar are you with the
Japan to.
characters in the movies?
I know the characters in the movies. I know that they're, except for Alice, I guess they're all taken from the games.
Okay, is Leon S. Kennedy in the
Yes.
movies?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
so he
believe
is
he
in.
comes in this one, I think is where he starts. He might be. I could be. I know he's in them. I might be getting the characters mixed up, but he is in these.
Okay, because I
I
knew people wanted to see him in the movies, and they were saying that they weren't going to put him in there, but then I guess they did change their mind. Um, I'm not sure about the other one. I know Jill Valentine was in the second one.
She's in the second one, and she comes back in this one.
Okay.
And I think Leon's in 2. So I think he might be introduced in this one. And then he's introduced in this one, and then he's also in this one.
Okay.
But I could be wrong on that. He might be in this one. The problem is that, and a lot of them aren't, and I think and then there's this, then there's the final chapter. The problem that with these is the characters are never continuous. The only person who is Mila.
Yeah.
So they'll completely set up the movie with all these characters in one film, and then they won't be back in the next one. And then the film after that, there's maybe 2 of those characters. Mm-hmm. And then they won't be in the next film, but then the 2 characters that were in 3 movies back will be in that film. So it's kind of hard
to. They're doing there, because they did that in the games.
Okay.
Because in the first game you played as Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine.
And they're both in this. Ali Lauder is the sister.
Okay. And then in the second game you played as Leon S. Kennedy and Claire Redfield, which is Chris Redfield's sister. The third game you get Jill Valentine comes back, and it's just Jill Valentine. It's nobody else. Then in the fourth, then there was a game between 3 and 4 called Code Veronica X or Code Veronica or something like that. That was Claire Redfield, just Claire Redfield. That's it. and then they started doing like single games with just individual characters instead of like choosing between one or the other.
Okay.
So I think that's what they were trying to emulate in the movies, having like these characters in this one. They won't come back for the second one, but then the next movie they'll come back. So that's what I think he was trying to emulate that.
Okay, well,
which I can respect.
Okay, I guess that makes sense. What did you think of the House of the Dead movies compared to the games? This I did play in the arcade as the House of the Dead, not just House of the Dead. But
is that the one with the gun and you shoot in the arcade?
Oh, the game, yeah, it's got like the yeah.
Okay, I was trying to think. I'm like, is that the game or is that not the game? Because it's been a while.
Yeah, they this is Yui Boyle, who I absolutely love. He's considered to be like the Ed Wood of present day filmmakers. I absolutely love his films. I love House of the Dead. I haven't played anything like if it's on a disc, but I did play it in the arcade, and I liked it. And he even goes into arcade mode, so you become like the first like the first person shooter. So in the movie, you just follow a hand that's shooting zombies, because you turn into that kind of POV of the shooter. And I think the film is amazing. It's such a disaster that it's amazing. So I think this is very underrated. And to me, it kind of feels like the game, but it's I don't if I remember correctly, I don't think it's 20 somethings going to a rave on a island. I don't think that has anything to do with the game. And then the zombies come up, and this guy's like 500 years old, they're looking for gold, and he's a zombie.
Okay.
And they have different types of zombies, water zombies and all that. I love this thing. I think it's great. So
yeah, I played the game. I didn't play it very much because I think, like you, I played it in the arcade, which very rarely got to go to the arcades that much. I think I had one of the ports for the Dreamcast, which I don't even know if I sold it or I lost it or whatever happened to it. So I've only played it a few times. So, but I haven't seen the movie, so I wouldn't know too much about the movies.
I recommend it. I don't care what people say. I really like Uni Boyle. I really like his stuff. And he also did like a Zombie Massacre and Zombie Massacre 2, and he produces a lot, he directs a lot, and he's a boxer. He's insane. He's a complete nut. He did crowdfunding for a film, and like nobody gave to it, so he made a video telling everybody to go fuck themselves. He actually said to go fuck yourself. And he's crazy. He's just this crazy German. And he got some of his biggest haters, like just like regular YouTubers and stuff, who criticize him, and boxed him, because he used to be a boxer.
Wow.
So yeah, so he had a boxing match with his fans because he was so pissed. So I think he's awesome. I would love to work with the guy or hang out with him or whatever. I mean, it must be insane. And then they did a sequel, which isn't as good. So it mostly takes place on like a school campus.
Okay.
But I mean,
so I'll definitely have to check these out.
Yeah, I don't know how close this is to. I think there is a sequel to the game. I don't know if this follows it.
I think there's a few. I think there's a few of them. I think there's House of the Dead 1, 2, 3, maybe 4.
Yeah,
I think there's like 4 of them, maybe.
Yeah, so I don't know if this follows.
But they're kind of all the same. They're just like basically on-rail shooters. So basically, you don't control the character. You just go through. You're basically taken through a level, and you just shoot and just try not to get hit or eaten.
So one guy before we leave is, because we can talk about this for a little bit if you don't mind, Stephen King adaptations.
Okay.
So what have you read of King?
I've read Carrie. I've not
Okay,
seen the
good.
movie. I've not seen the movie yet, sir. I've been trying. I wanted to get all of them. So
Oh,
I was gonna.
no
I
version of
was.
Carrie at all?
I've seen bits and pieces of the miniseries that they did. I never seen the entire thing. I know. I. I'm blanking. I think I've seen a little bit of the original movie, the one with John Travolta in it,
So
which I didn't even.
this is this is probably the version that you'd want to pick up. I have like several versions of this. They all have the original, but
Mhm.
this is the original 1976. Then it's
Yeah.
got the sequel, The Rage, Carrie 2, and then it has the miniseries on it from 2002. It doesn't have the newest version on it though.
The 2013 version, yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna read, because at one point I was gonna do some videos where I read the book and then watched all the miniseries and try to like compare which ones was the closest to the book. From what I hear, the
None of them.
original. I mean, with
It-
the exception
the
of
here's
how
she dies like the shark in Jaws in the book. She blows up the entire town. She's walking in a field and just collapses from exhaustion and dies.
she kills her mother is too different. Is different from the movie.
A lot of the book is that's my big problem. So here's the thing with adapting that book into these films. Each actress that plays Carrie is better looking than the previous actress.
Mhm.
That is totally wrong.
She's supposed to be this heavy. She's not. She's supposed to be like unattractive. She's not really pretty. She's kind of like heavy set.
Yeah, she's based on two girls that Stephen King went to school with. And so basically, Carrie in the book is short, overweight, oily skin, zits, and she has like nasty hair. And nobody likes her. She's supposed to be just very unpleasant.
Mm-hmm.
And Sissy Spacek is the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Even though I think that she still represents Carrie the best, you know, I think Sissy Spacek, when she got into like her 40s and 50s, I think she became very attractive. But back in the day, I don't think when she was younger, she was that attractive. So I think that kind of worked for her. Mm-hmm. And then in Carrie 2, once again, the girl's too good looking. And I know it's supposed to be like a stepsister. You know, it's like same dad, different mom.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, too good looking. And then in the miniseries, which was supposed to be a TV show, that was a pilot for a TV show. Once again, Carrie, too good looking. And then the newest one with that, what's it? Chloe, Maurice, three names again with people. I don't want to, but she was Hit Girl. And once again, way too good looking to play Carrie. Yeah. If anything, the mean girls of the school should want to be friends with her since she's got all these powers.
Yeah.
Why would you tease her? You know, it doesn't make any sense to me. And it's weird. They changed stuff in the new one to make it a little more PC. Like it's weird is the Brian De Palma Carrie, the original, leaves out a lot from the book. Mm-hmm. But we believe that we're in a high school by the way that the girls are treated. Like we open it and they're all naked. That you don't get in any of the other ones. And they're throwing the tampons and they're saying plug it up. Mm-hmm. It's different in the latest one. They don't say plug it up. They say something like close it. Like close it. Like they don't want to, I guess, insinuate sticking
offend.
Something. Yeah, it's really weird. And the mini series is surprisingly, except for the ending, the closest one to the novel. Because you get the rocks falling from the sky. You get there's a lot more stuff. And I'm being a huge Stephen King fan. The when I do see something that I've read that's been adapted, it really kind of frustrates me. So it's as much as I, recommend this, these, they're not exactly the book. You almost kind of have to watch all of them. Well, except for Carrie 2. You almost have to watch original Carrie, TV Carrie, and then the newest one to kind of get like a full story if you want the book. And then they came out with this version of The Stand, which I freaking hated. The original
I like
one with
the original.
Mick Garris, so much better.
I like the original miniseries. Actually, I bought the original miniseries because I've actually really enjoyed it. I had very first. I want to say it was my very first. No, I'm sorry, I'm lying. It was my second introduction to Stephen King. I haven't read the books before, so I read. I watched Riding the Bullet.
Riding the Bullet's fun.
Yeah, I watched. That was my very first Stephen King movie I watched, and it was a great movie. I really enjoyed it. That was actually my second Stephen King, not that version, but the original miniseries. It was my second introduction to Stephen King.
Yeah, that's
that made me want to.
Mick Garris who did that one. So Mick Garris for a while was the guy to adapt these. This is annoying.
I'm not mistaken. He also did Riding the Bullet as well, didn't he?
Which one?
Didn't he direct Riding the Bullet as well?
Yeah. That's Mick Garris. Yeah, the Stand, Mick Garris. Riding the Bullet is Mick Garris. Sleepwalkers, Mick Garris. So yeah, he even has a cameo in this. At the very end, he's sitting at a table at a barbecue. The most annoying thing with this is it goes back and forth in time. So where the original miniseries starts off with us getting to know the characters like right as the plague starts, right when when Captain Trips starts, this goes into the world, not into the world, into the world, not into the world, into the world, not into the world, throughout the entire thing. And it's so annoying. And they do change some of the characters around. I kept it because it's Stephen King. So, and all the stuff in Las Vegas is fake. So I guess they were a little more open to, I mean, all the stuff is on sets and things anyways, but I guess in the original miniseries, they were a little more open to using real names for like hotels and casinos. In this, they're all made up.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's annoying. So I don't recommend this, but yeah, I recommend the original one, even though the original miniseries combined characters from the book and situations into the miniseries. It's still much better than this. So, which is also my problem with the new It. So the original miniseries was one film is young people, next film is them as adults. It didn't work back in the 80s, and it didn't work when they made this. And that's not how the book is.
With the miniseries, they were trying to do how the book was done. The book was done where it was taking place like it would be a segment of when they were adults, and then it would go into the past, to the present, to the past, to the present, and it would flip back and forth. I think that's what the miniseries was trying to do, was to emulate that, and it didn't work.
Well, no. The miniseries is the first, because that was a two-parter on TV. The first part is all kids. The second part is all adults.
It's been a while since I've seen.
Yeah, which is exactly what this thing did. So I don't know why they kind of took something that kind of didn't work and do it again. But I guess they wanted to do that two-parter.
Part one was really good. I really enjoyed part
on both of them, on both. But also the weird thing is Pennywise is not the clown, is not the main villain in the book. They just made it the main villain. Pennywise is just one of those things to freak the kids out.
Yeah. Plus, the thing I liked about Pennywise in the newer versions that didn't really work in the Tim Curry one. The Tim Curry one, it was just Pennywise the clown. That was it. You didn't see. This one really kind of shows you who Pennywise really is. He feeds on your fear, so he's gonna come to you as your darkest fear. Like the one kid was like a man that had leprosy or something like that, and then another one was something about the drain, the girl, like the voice down the
I
drain or
think all
whatever.
that's in the first one too. In the
Is it?
first, yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen the
Yeah.
miniseries. I've seen these ones more recently, so.
I mean, they're fine. I mean, but it's funny that they did the same thing that a lot of people say with the original is it didn't work. Like they liked it, you know, it did well on television. You know, Tim Curry was awesome. I still think he's better than this Ed, but or Pennywise. But
I like both of them to a certain extent. I mean, I will say, like, Tim Curry is. I mean, Tim Curry's a classic. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you look at that and you see '90s cheese fest, while this one's trying to be more serious, more scary, more
Right.
menacing. But I mean, let's be real. How can you take a dancing clown seriously?
Well, and then there's, well, yeah, because here's the stand. So this is how I have the stand, the original stand. So it's also with Langoliers and Golden Ears, which was never made into a book. This is an original. I think this is like the first. No. Well, it would be the first Stephen King written miniseries that he did. It's very X-Files. Langoliers was okay. The little Pac-Man looked pretty bad. The visual effect of that looked pretty bad. But yeah, this is how I like it stand. And plus everything is on it's got like its own DVDs. So they're not just like all packed on like one friggin' DVD like some people do. So this is a good representation of these. And Langoliers was pretty good as a two-part miniseries.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one. I have to definitely check that one out.
And then there's one of my favorite series from King is Children of the Corn.
Which was originally a short story, wasn't it?
Yeah, in Night Shift. Which is funny is this doesn't follow the short story. They did a TV, which I think was USA, I think, did a USA channel or network, whatever it is. They did a TV movie that followed the book where the two main characters die at the end. And that's in this, they survive. And they actually adopt two of the kids. This is still a classic. I still love it. But it's as far as adapting it, I could see why King would be annoyed because it's the TV version is much closer to the short story.
Yeah.
In that one, which is hilarious, is the guy, because it's supposed to take place in the 70s. So he's back from Vietnam. And when he get and the kids are like, you know, like messing with him, and he becomes like a Vietnam soldier. So instead of the cornfields and kids, he sees Vietnam and the Viet Cong. And so he starts going through the cornfields, killing the kids, thinking that they're his enemy, like they're the Viet Cong. It's very weird. It's like it's actually, I think it's the best out of all the adaptions. But yeah, King does not like this. I heard he bought back the rights, you know, once they became available. So I don't know if we're going to get any more. We've already had like 10 of them. And that kind of sucks if he doesn't let people do it anymore, because it's one of my favorite franchises is the Children of the Corn films. And then I brought like a few out here. Oh yeah. Then this is the one with it on it. So these are my favorite adaptations of them all. So
Okay.
I'm sorry. I don't care what people say. This is better than Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. That's why Stephen King's name is bigger than the friggin' title, because this is the book.
I
This is
have
like,
an unpopular opinion. I was not a big fan of The Shining.
visually, it's beautiful. The book, the movie, what are you not a fan of?
Either. I was
Ah,
not a big fan of the book. I
okay.
tried. I haven't even finished it. I tried 3 times to read it, and I
Wow.
could not. I could not. I don't know what it is. It's not that I wasn't enjoying it. It was just I don't know. It's like there's certain parts that just took me out of it. And like you said, Stephen King does have diarrhea of the pen. Just it's like long winded. It's like can we just get on with the story sometimes?
Well,
I
and
mean, like I
that
said,
book's cut too, like he did The Stand. I wish that he would actually release the extended version of the book.
what, The Shining or The Stand?
Of well, no, the Shining was cut. He released the extended version, and then but when The Shining came out, the book, they cut it. The editors cut it
Okay.
because there's a lot of stuff that deals with the mafia. There's a whole prologue about how the mafia were at the hotel that's missing.
Okay.
I hunted it down. It's actually in a magazine, and I found it online. Like somebody did a PDF of it, and I found it. And yeah, it's all about the mafia. But yeah, I love the book, and I love Doctor Sleep. I think is a great adaptation of Doctor Sleep of the book Doctor Sleep. But you have to watch you have to read The Shining, you have to watch Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, and then watch,
because they try to combine both Kubrick's and King's version together.
yeah, because the book for Doctor Sleep is he goes to the ruins of the hotel, like it's gone. It's just there's nothing there. That's
Yeah, because in the book it blew up,
yeah, the boiler room.
and in the movie,
He freezes.
Jack
It's
Torrance is just freezes to death.
yeah. So I don't care what people say. I think this is the better version. Plus it has Melvin Van Peebles in it, who I'm a big fan of. I still think this is the better version of it. And Salem's Lot. I think this is the better version of Salem's Lot. As much as I like, Toby Hooper's miniseries and all that, that literally has nothing to do with the book. Or yeah, the book. It's just wow. Does it not? This does. This follows the book.
Yeah.
But that one from the 70s that was the miniseries is not the book. There is no vampire that looks like that looks like Nosferatu from the Max Schreck.
Yeah.
From that silent film. There is none. So it's actually Rutger Hauer, and he looks like the vampire from Buffy the Vampire Slayer in this.
Okay.
That's how he's supposed to look.
Yeah.
So
it's fun little piece of trivia here. We were talking about the Dark Tower earlier in the podcast or video, whatever you want to call it. We were in one of the books. Stephen King did this a lot in his later books. He literally spoiled the entire book of Salem's Lot in Dark Tower 5, I believe it is. 5 or 6, one of the two. He completely spoils Salem's Lot for you.
Oh, why he tells you the ending?
Yeah. King got to the point, he's like, I don't care. If you haven't read it by now, you're not going to read it. So here's the spoiler.
Well, there's also Jerusalem's Lot too. So which is like a prequel. So,
there's a prequel, and there's actually 2 short stories that kind of, there's Jerusalem's Lot was like the prequel, and then there's one for the road. I think they're both a night shift. That's also that's kind of like Father Callahan going back to Jerusalem's Lot to finish the job.
Oh, okay. Okay. That dealt with a virus, but okay, maybe it is. I don't remember that one. I've read Night Shift.
I think it's one for the road. I think it's called.
That is one of the stories.
Yeah.
Let's see. For the Road, Stephen King. One for the Road, published. Let's see here. Videos of One for the. Does say Salem's Lot. Yeah, picks up a couple years after Salem's Lot. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of I think it's called The Virus Moves North. I think is the one that I'm thinking of. Okay, yeah. Okay. I don't think I realized that, so I'll have to check that out. Now, these are two of the worst Stephen King. The short stories are fine, but movie-wise, they're two of the worst, but I still love them. One is The Mangler, and that's Tobe Hooper.
Oh boy.
Based on the short story The Mangler from Night Shift. It's got Robert
Englund. I've heard this is one of the worst, but people love it.
It is so amazingly bad. I don't know. There's three of them. There's three films, and then of course, what collection? You got to own Maximum Overdrive. King adapted.
The only one that was directed by King.
Yeah, based on his short story Trucks, and then later on, like USA or TBS or one of those ones adapted the short story into a TV movie called Trucks, which is much better than this. It's much closer to the book or a short story, but this is brilliant. So this is. I mean, yep, yeah. The guy who criticized all of his movies made one of the worst ones.
I mean, you just gotta love the part where King is looking at the ATM. He goes, "Hey, this thing's calling me an a-hole."
Yeah, honey. And then there's these, which I like when they do this. I like sequels to Children of the Corn, and I like sequels to the Stephen King movies. I do. I enjoy them sometimes better than the original movies. Like I know Stephen King has nothing to do with Hellraiser. That's Clive Barker, but I like all like this, like the sequels and all that. I like when they do things like that. And so Larry Cohen at one point did a sequel to Salem's Lot called A Return to Salem's Lot, which I thought was pretty good. So,
definitely one I'll have to check out.
Yeah.
I have the original, the one Tobe Hooper did.
Yeah.
So Salem's Lot, the original. I have that one. I bought it because like I said, I was gonna do a thing where I was gonna do all the read the book, and then I was gonna read the books in publication order, because that's apparently how you're supposed to read Stephen King, is in publication order.
Well, yeah, so many of the stories connect, especially with the Dark Tower. I mean,
the Dark Tower, the three main ones that really connect everything, from what I understand, it's It, Dreamcatchers, Tommyknockers, unfortunately. And Tommyknockers was a terrible book.
I never read the book. I saw the movie or the TV series, or the two-parter. That was pretty bad. One of my favorite novels from him is one of my favorite films, which is The Dark Half.
I have not read that one. That is definitely one I want to read. It's
George Romero, and it is probably one of the closest films that matches the book. And in the book, I don't think they mentioned it in the movie though, but in the book, the sheriff mentions Cujo, and he mentions Dead Zone. I believe he mentions both. That like a summer ago, a rabied, Saint Bernard killed somebody, and then during the winter, a deputy was killing off young girls. So I believe he mentions both of those.
Yeah.
So you kind of
do that a lot.
Yeah, you got to kind of start off with that stuff.
Yeah,
I think Carrie's mentioned.
I forget which she is mentioned in one of them. I think I'm not 100% sure. I think maybe Firestarter she was mentioned.
I never read Firestarter.
I haven't either, but I think that's one of the ones she was mentioned in. But I don't know if you noticed, but King likes to put himself into his own stories as well.
In what way?
In Carrie, she has a teacher named Mr. King.
Uh,
And actually, I don't know if you knew this, but the only reason Stephen King started writing was because of his wife Tabitha.
because of his wife, Tabitha?
When he wrote 25% of Carrie, said screw it and threw it away.
Oh,
and
yes.
She saved it out of the garbage can and
But
said, no, you.
But he'd been writing since he was a kid.
Yeah, he's been writing since he was a kid, but he would have never continued if his wife didn't fish it. That's why he puts in a lot of his books special thanks to Tabitha King. That's why he puts a special thanks to her in every one of his books.
Yeah, I know
Because she,
that story with Carrie. Yeah, that she kind of helped him out with it, with like the female side of it. And then, but I don't know if that would have stopped him though, if he threw it away and never came back to it, because he'd already had a bunch of short stories out.
From what he said in his one of his interviews, he said that this was the one he was working on, like the one he really put a lot of time into, and he said he was just going to say the heck with it and just go do his teaching the full time. And that's when he threw it away, and she fished it out and said, "Hey, let me help you out with some of the stuff." And then that's when he wrote the book. She helped him out, and long is history.
Okay, all right.
Now well, yeah,
I do know that part. So yeah, that I definitely know. So okay, so we've actually gotten to that point. So is there anything else? Anything that you would like to bring up before we sign off?
I mean, I think we pretty much tackled everything. Anything you can think of that we didn't touch on?
No. I mean, there's so much. I mean, there's so many things that I can.
We may have to come back and do part 2.
Yeah, I just have to figure out some stuff. So yeah, it's no, I'm good. I mean, I went through everything that I got, and I just want to make sure you showed off everything that you got.
I have a couple more things here, but we don't have to show it off.
Well, what do you got?
I was just gonna. All I have is I have Doom, which
That's
you
right.
said that you've seen the movie, right? What did you think of the movie?
Well, I've never played the game, but I did enjoy the first film, and I thought the second film was but I did like.
There was a second film.
Yeah, it's Doom Annihilation, which I guess is closer to the games or one of the games. But I liked Doom with The Rock. I like him in it.
It's funny you mentioned it in the House of the Dead, how you said it goes into first person. This actually does go in. The movie goes into first person.
Yeah,
and for like the last part of the movie. And the only other thing I have here, how familiar? You have Netflix, right?
Yes.
Have you seen The Witcher?
I have not. I know of it, but I have not watched anything from it.
All right. Well, before it was a TV show, a lot of people known them for the games, which I have number 2 and number 3.
Oh, I recognize those. Okay.
All right. But what a lot of people don't realize is that these were not the start. These were the start.
Oh my. What the hell are those?
These are books, all the novels.
Oh wow. So I'm taking it you're a fan?
Yeah. Well, here's a little trivia for you. If you want to start a series, where would you start?
I would probably start book 1, but I guess it.
Okay. Well, the book 1 was called Blood of Elves, which is actually what season 2 of the Witcher series is based on. So this is not where you start. You're actually supposed to start with the 2 short stories. And this is where these 2 are where season 1 of The Witcher takes, I think it's more this one. I think there's a couple of short stories from this one that's in season 1.
Okay.
It's a little confusing. So yeah, those are interesting. They
Wow.
the author Andrzej Sapkowski is his name. From Poland. He gets very very peed off when people say that the games made the books famous, because technically they did. Because of the games, they brought the books over here.
Oh, okay.
And he gets very mad when he hears, no, my books were popular before the games. Maybe in your country.
Uh, well, what's behind you there? Isn't that The Witcher? What's that?
Yeah, it's the box set it was just the box for the first 3.
Oh, okay.
So let me see.
Okay.
It's just so these have books 1, 2, and 3. So they just came in a box set. So I've only read up to book 1, and I cannot get into book 2. So I'm gonna have to try again someday.
Oops.
So yeah, that's pretty much all I have.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. I'm glad that we stuck with this, because I don't want you to leave stuff out. So
No, hey, like I said, if we had to, we could always come back for a part 2 sometime down the line.
that's true. That is true. So all right.
And
Well,
who knows? We may actually do that someday. I mean, there's a lot of other adaptations we can look at.
oh yes, we've only scratched the surface, I would imagine. So
I mean, we could probably dedicate a whole episode just to Stephen King himself.
Yeah. Yeah, I have an entire shelf of just King, of just the movies. So otherwise, everything else is PDF files.
I have 3 rows on my bookshelf. I have 3 rows of just Stephen King books.
Nice. Oh,
just
books. Nice.
Books. Just the books. In every format. You can probably, I mean, mass paperback, hardcover, you name it. I have it. I don't have all of them. I don't have all 61 or 62 how many novels he wrote. He's written so many.
Yeah, that's where I couldn't keep up with them, because I started late in the whole thing. I was watching the movies and I was told, no, you should read the books too. And I started with Carrie and then just kind of worked my way up, but there was just too many. It was just taking too long. So it's yeah.
Did you know he wrote under another name called Richard Bachman?
He actually wrote under 2 names. Okay. Richard Bachman is one of them.
Okay.
Which is the story of The Dark Half. The Dark Half is a true story, more or less. But he wrote under one other name. I believe it's called the story is called The Glass Floor. And that it's the only time he's written under a second fake name.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I think that's the Nightmares and Dreamscapes. But yeah, that's it. Yeah. No, I love Richard Bachman. So I had the Bachman books. I had a lot of the books solo, Rage and The Long Walk and The Running Man. And I did read The Running Man, and he has Desperation, The Regulators. And then
I do want to get a copy of the Bachman books with Rage, because Rage he took out of publication.
Yeah,
I mean, for good reason. For good reason. I'm not saying that he's wrong for doing it. I don't believe for that. Usually, I'm against cancel or cancel culture or anything, but for something like that, I can understand why he would take something like that out of publication.
Yeah. Well, and it's going to be out there. I mean, it may be pricey these days, but I have a PDF of it, so of the Bachman books. So I mean, I just use that. But it's because I'm not into collecting books. I'm not into this is the first edition, type of thing. It's as long as I have it.
As long as I can read it, I could care less. What
movies are different. Movies, I want physical. I want a physical copy of a movie. But a book, I could do a PDF file. That's fine by me. So. But yeah. Like you said, we could do a whole episode on Stephen King alone, and just You know, because some of even the Bachman stuff has been made in the movies. You know, Running Man, Desperation, which is Mick Garris. Yeah, so you know, and Running Man was another one that was supposed to have Richard Dreyfuss in it as the lead, as the everyday man. It was not supposed to be Schwarzenegger. In the book, it's not like Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
So, but
well,
okay.
So,
all right,
we got some more ideas for some more episodes.
There we go. And then eventually maybe we can ask people out there what they would like for us to look into. So, but we'll do our ideas first, and then when we start running out, we'll ask them. So, all right. Okay. Well, Donald, I think this is it. I think it is time for us to say goodbye.
Yeah.
And thanks everybody for watching. I appreciate it. And now that we're out of Star Wars, now we're into something totally different. And
would you like to talk about Star Wars again, John?
No, I'm perfectly fine with it. Surprisingly, I wouldn't mind watching the Obi-Wan series, even though I've heard it's garbage. But like it completely breaks timelines, and none of it makes sense to A New Hope. And I mean that I might watch, but no, I don't want to watch anything else. So no, I'm perfectly fine. I'll watch anything with Lucas attached. I don't want to watch anything with Disney attached.
I don't blame you.
Yeah. So, that's it. All right, everybody. We're going to sign off. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And Donald and I will see you on the next one. Okay. All righty.
Take care, everybody.
Bye. Bye, everybody. Bye.